So one question I get asked a lot is, where did I apply to, how did I choose those schools, where did I interview at, and obviously the big question, where have I decided to go in the fall? And so today I'll just be going through all the schools and letting you know how I decided those schools and how I decided the school that I will be attending in the fall. I'm very excited that I won't have to reapply, that this was a successful application cycle for me. And so in total, I applied to 9 DO schools and 10 MD schools. I'll leave the names of the schools on the screen. The way I went about choosing what schools that I wanted to apply to is kind of weird. I wouldn't really recommend this strategy, or you could do it. There's no pros and cons to it really. For DO schools, I knew that I was a pretty average applicant for most schools. Actually, my target DO school, I was actually on the lower side of my stats for their accepted students, but it's also because it's a school in California. California is competitive. So anyways, so I really chose schools by the geographic location that I wanted to live in, because I heard that DO schools have more influence in their surrounding areas, in their respective regions, and so thinking of that and knowing that I wanted to pursue my residency in California and to be a physician in California, I really just tried to apply to as many California schools as I could, which includes DO schools. And also applied to like New York region, Florida region. This is all also in coordination with my boyfriend, who also applied this past cycle. And then for MD schools, I applied to 10 schools. I had a really hard time choosing MD schools to apply to because when I used MSOT, when I toggled with the stats and everything, I basically could only apply to like the Caribbean and like Puerto Rico. So basically like not main US schools, and that was a big problem for me. And so I increased the MCAT range a little for their average accepted students. And so I applied to schools that showed that they accepted a couple of students with my stats, so like basically lower like 10, 25 percentile. But I was like, you know what, shoot my shot, you never know, might as well try. And so that's what I did. There are some of these schools that I obviously regret applying to just because like I know I wasn't a good fit, but it's also just because it showed that they accepted applicants with very low stats, like several, so I was like, you know, maybe I could be those several. I definitely do regret applying to these schools because in retrospect, I can see how I was never going to get into these schools and how I am not a good fit for those schools. And so from the 9 DO schools, I got 5 interviews. However, I only attended 4 interviews because by the time I got my 5th interview, I had pretty much already decided where I was going to go. And for the 10 MD schools, I got 1 interview, which I was kind of surprised at. And so I don't know how I did this, but I actually got accepted into all 5 schools that I interviewed at. So grateful, so beyond grateful that I actually had several choices. I was so happy. Like I didn't actually think I would be a successful applicant, and so this was just, I'm still kind of in shock from everything. So big question, where have I decided to go? Well, drum roll, Miami. And before anyone says anything, it's not just because Miami is the one MD school that I got accepted into. I was really thinking about going to Western U or Comp in Pomona because I'm originally from California and it was around the area that I grew up in. I just really wanted to go home, so I was really debating whether or not I wanted to go to Western or Miami, and obviously just before I got an acceptance into both, I was just thinking about it, and I was really torn on where I wanted to go. And obviously just putting my boyfriend into everything, like we were really trying to get into at least the same region. And so I actually applied to Miami late. I didn't submit my application for them until they had already started sending out their secondaries, and my boyfriend was filling out his secondary. He was like, hey, they actually do like a joint program for anyone who wanted to go into medical school with a significant other. And so that really pushed me to apply. So I was like, wow, a joint program, like I've never heard of that for medical school. And so obviously, I had to apply, and also because I found myself to be a really good fit for the school. After learning about the program, I feel like they're really trying to incorporate like art of medicine, humanities into medicine, everything that completely aligns with how I view medicine, how I want to practice medicine, and the type of doctor that I want to be. And that really pushed me to apply. And I do think that the joint program did help us because we actually got interviews the exact same day, which is completely crazy. And we decided not to interview the same day because that would have been a little awkward considering that we only live in like a one-bedroom apartment, like that would have been weird. But we interviewed 1 week apart from each other and then we got accepted 1 week apart from each other. And so that was really incredible and it just put a huge stress off of our shoulders, and I'm just so beyond grateful for you, Miami, for giving me this chance to attend your school because I'm obviously not one of the typical candidates that they usually select to interview and to accept, at least stats-wise. Like my stats were here and their average stats were here. So it just looking on MSAR, like I would have never applied to school obviously because I didn't. Today was just a short video telling you guys where I was going and to share this really exciting news of where I will be going for the next 4 years. So beyond excited. And stick around if you want to see the rest of my medical school journey and to come along the ride with me.